Welcome back. Oh, should I play the Cotter music? Over the last few weeks, I've been away from Stuart's Audacity tips for a bit and focusing on some other things. More on that in a minute. This edition of SAT is one of the most important ones I've done, in my opinion. There are a lot of people, both in and out of our audio industry, that are concerned about the future. So share this around with anyone that you think might benefit. I appreciate it. So, I've been away from SAT for a bit, but I haven't been entirely disconnected from Audacity. And one of the things that I've been working on has to do with one of the biggest fears facing people these days, AI. That's right, artificial intelligence. That looming menace that's going to take all our jobs, or so they say. Incidentally, in case you hadn't guessed, this image is AI generated. But I don't like fearing faceless entities that are not well defined. So I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about AI, the technology, what it is, what it isn't, and an experience I've had that resulted from connecting with an old colleague that I haven't talked with in several years. First, let's talk about the looming dread of AI. AI is not something new to me. I was introduced to the concept some 30 years ago while working on my BS degree. I had an opportunity to study what was then the foundations of the area of computer science known as artificial intelligence. Back then, it focused on something that we called expert systems. An expert system is an attempt to capture the knowledge of a known expert in a particular field and build a system that could be consulted about that field. Those human experts are often referred to as SMEs, like in Peter Pan, but with one fewer E. It's short for subject matter expert, a person who has great knowledge in a specific area. To build an expert system, the knowledge is defined as individual conditional statements, mostly like if this, then that, and each statement is given a weight to allow the system to determine what conclusion to pick if two or more sets of conditions are true. In this manner, given a set of conditions, the system would be able to choose an appropriate course of action based on the set of conditions. If the chosen conclusion doesn't agree with the expert, the weighting is adjusted to improve the next attempt. Nothing particularly complex there. The AIs we use today are essentially the same sort of thing, but they have a huge advantage over the systems we built back then. Scale, courtesy of the cloud, virtualization, and data centers. Today's systems are able to process millions of times more evaluations per second than those old ones. Add to that the ability to self-evaluate based on test cases built into the system, and the results seem almost like magic. And this logic can be applied to many different areas, from language to art to imagery to scientific research. Combining those capabilities gives us systems that can talk to us in what seems like a conscious way, even though it's really just millions of guesses guided by repeated iterations and refinements, from the way the system uses language to the way it actually answers the question. Which brings me to the idea of general use AIs like ChatGPT and so on. These so-called LLMs, or large language models, have access to basically anything they can look up on the internet. And if you know anything about the internet, you know there's a huge pile of garbage information out there. This is part of the reason general use AIs suffer from so-called hallucinations. An AI hallucination is when an AI, given the job to answer a question, provides an incorrect answer instead of saying, I don't know. The priority to fulfill the task, that is, to answer the question, is higher than the priority to make sure that the answer is fully correct. And it's also why I say you should never trust the answer you get from a general use AI. It might be right, and it might be wrong. If you don't have the ability to verify the answer, it could cause trouble. So, is AI to be avoided altogether? I don't think so. I support the idea of specific AIs for specific domains of knowledge. In other words, expert systems. When contained in this way, the model becomes much more reliable and useful. And that brings me to my recent experience with an old colleague. The colleague has a company called Expert Scale. They have built a system to host expert system AIs known as digital protégés. A digital protégé is an AI that's designed to do specifically what those old expert systems did: capture the knowledge of an expert in a specific field. But instead of capturing the information to represent what any expert in the field might know, a digital protégé is designed to represent one specific expert. This can be beneficial in a variety of ways, including the way I'm using it to help my community, all of you. For several weeks, I've been working with Expert Scale to train my digital protege. That training has consisted of the system interviewing me and talking about my experience with audio production, voice acting, coaching, and in particular, Audacity, and feeding that information to the system. We've also given it all of my back catalog of Stuart's Audacity tips in written form. We're still working on the video version, so the process is ongoing. But I wanted to share this with you because it's a great way to take advantage of my experience before deciding you need to spend the money for a live consultation. You can have a session with my digital protege for half the cost of a live consultation. Even better, the first consultation is completely free. You can go to stuartgoffe.com/protege right now and ask anything you want about Audacity, audio production, home studios, and so on. I'd appreciate it if you do just that, and then let me know how it went. Did you get the answer you needed? Did you like the experience? Would you use it again if you had other questions? I should also mention that you might get an answer like, "That's something I'm not really sure about. You should check with Stuart on that." That's because Expert Scale has a no hallucinations guarantee. Unlike general use AIs, digital proteges have tight guardrails in place to prevent hallucinations. So they're able to say, "I don't know," although usually it's phrased something more like, "You should check with Stuart on that." This is one of my favorite features about them and the only reason I decided to explore this as an offering for you. So I hope you'll decide to have a session, especially if there's something you'd like to know about Audacity or voiceover work or whatever you think I might be able to help with. Jump over to the link and ask away. Then let me know how it went. Either will make my protege a lot better, or maybe I'll decide it's not a great thing to do after all. I need you to help me decide. As always, I hope this helps. I'm Stuart.